So what we have here is a wall-mounted ductless mini split. And a lot of customers ask, how do these work? How is it actually producing the cold air and running? Well, what an air conditioner actually does is it removes heat, right? Everything we do is about transferring heat. In the wintertime, we want to add heat to the space, and in the summertime, we want to remove heat from the space. So if you look at this unit here, what's actually happening is it's pulling air in through this bottom grill. It's pulling it in past the filter over refrigeration coils. The heat is being pulled from the air, transferred into the refrigerant where it goes outside. And what's left is that same air that's being recycled in the house, just with the heat removed from it. So I'm actually gonna open this up so you can see what it looks like inside. So this is the filter here, and the filter is protecting the coil. So the airflow is actually getting pulled in over this coil. And I'll remove the filter so you can see what it looks like. This is the indoor coil. So going back and forth here are refrigerant lines. There's refrigerant that's pumping through here. And as that hot air passes over the coil, the heat is being absorbed into the refrigerant, and what's left is cold air because the heat has actually been taken out and removed from it. But that heat has to go somewhere, right? So the refrigerant acts as a vehicle for the heat. The heat transfers into the refrigerant transfers to the outdoor unit where the refrigerant is actually compressed down and the heat is released outside. And in the winter time, it does the same exact thing, just in reverse, okay? Ductless mini split systems are heat pumps. Heat pump means it's using refrigerant to transfer heat either into the building or heat outside the building. They're all electric units because the compressor that's pumping the refrigerant is ran by electricity. So this can produce cold air in the summer. We have it on right now. 61 degrees is our target, and it's putting out ice cold air directly from this vent. In the winter time, it will do the opposite, and it'll actually be adding heat to the indoor air, and we'll have hot air coming out. Homeowners always ask, what is the most common reason that an air conditioner breaks down? Well, the number one reason an air conditioner breaks down is dirty filters. This here is a washable style filter that we took out of this mini split system here. But when you have a dirty filter, it actually restricts airflow over the coils. This filter here protects these indoor coils. So it slides in just like so. And when it's in place, it's able to stop debris, dust, things like that from building up on the coil. But after so long, if you don't clean or change your filters, this will actually become blocked. And what happens is the air conditioning system wants good airflow over the coils. It will cause the compressor outside that's pumping refrigerant through this coil here. It'll cause the pressures to rise, and it will cause a lot of issues. Imagine you're trying to run a marathon and you have a dirty mask or a hand over your face, and you can't breathe, right? Your heart rate's gonna go up and you're gonna have all kinds of issues going on. Same thing with these heating and air systems. When the filter is dirty, it can't breathe, the airflow's not making it over the coils. That causes the compressor to work harder, the amps go up on the compressor. If you have a blower motor that's pulling air over those coils, it has to work harder to pull air over the coils because it's being blocked by the dirty filter, and it will just start to snowball and cause a slew of issues. So make sure you change your filters every 2 to 3 months. Manufacturers recommend every 60 to 90 days. The sooner you can change it, or the more often you change them, the better, especially if you have pets, dogs and cats. You know, a lot of pet hair can get sucked up into these. So if you have pets, I would recommend every 30 to 60 days, you're either washing your washable filters or changing out your filters in general. So I'll take you outside so that you can see the outdoor unit. When this heat gets absorbed into this coil, that heat needs to transfer outside. So refrigerant lines are actually connected from here, in this case under the house, and they run outside to that end of the house. So let's go take a look. So here we have our outdoor unit. What's happening here, there's a compressor inside that's pumping refrigerant. We can see back here they're covered up, but these are the refrigeration lines going under the house that I talked about earlier. The refrigerant is traveling outside into the compressor. The refrigerant's being compressed, and the heat is actually being released out here. Right now I can feel hot air, hotter than it is outside right now, coming out of here, and that's the heat that's inside the house transferring to outside. So pretty interesting stuff, but that's how ductless mini split systems operate. A big question that we get all the time are, I got multiple bids for my new heating and air system and my prices are all over the place. One company quoted me $5,000, another company quoted me $25,000, and all the other 3 bids were all in the middle. What gives? Why am I getting all these different prices? Well, there's a lot of factors to consider when pricing out a job for a heating and air system. In our particular case, we're in California. So in California, you are required to have a contractor's license. You have to pay for a bond. You have to have workman's comp insurance. You have to have general liability insurance, right? If you have a company that's doing things right and legal, there's a lot of parameters and costs that go into even being able to offer these services in the first place. And obviously, the more employees or the more trucks or the bigger office that companies have, the more their overhead is, which means they have to compensate for their pricing to be able to cover that and stay in business. When it comes to that, homeowners would say, well, why do I want to pay high pricing and high overhead for a company? That's their problem. I don't want to pay for that. Well, generally speaking, when a company is larger, that means that they have more resources at their disposal, which means if you have a problem or you want a maintenance on your HVAC system, most of the time with larger companies, you can call and somebody's going to answer the phone and they'll be able to get you on the schedule very quickly because they have the personnel to do so. Oftentimes their vans are stocked with the appropriate equipment to be able to fix the issue or perform a repair or a maintenance on the spot, right? And those are some advantages that a larger company might have over a smaller company. Now, with smaller companies, say you're looking at the guy that quoted $5,000, there's advantages there too. The main advantage being they're the cheapest, right? But it's important to remember that cheaper is hardly ever better in any circumstance. And the same is true when it comes to a heating and air system. Just because you go with the cheapest price doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get the best quality of work or even the best product itself. Or perhaps you got the cheapest price, but in a year or 3 years, you have a problem. In 5 years, you have an issue, you call. That cheap guy that you found might not be in business anymore. Or maybe he is in business, but he's so busy because he doesn't have employees or an office to help assist him answer his phones that he doesn't even answer the phone. Or maybe he does answer the phone, but he can't get you on the schedule for 4 weeks, right? So there's always advantages and disadvantages all the way around. The quote you get on your HVAC system is going to be all over the place, depending really on what company you're getting the estimate from. With our company, Atticman Heating and Air, we're not a large company, but we're not a small company either. We're a medium-sized business. I have 15 technicians that are ready to go at all times, able to answer these calls, perform tune-ups, perform maintenances and repairs as needed, which means we do have a higher overhead than some of our smaller competitors. However, that means that we are typically more readily available and able to solve the problem very quickly. And even though we have 15 technicians, we know exactly where our price point needs to be. That makes us a fair and competitive company, but also at the same time enables us to be in business and have the staff and the resources available to us to serve our customers and serve our community to the absolute best of our ability. So if you're going to get multiple quotes, I would recommend you land somewhere in the middle, right? Typically going with the most expensive option, you're gonna go with a large company with tons of overhead, and the value might not really be there to pay an extra $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, right? I would also stay away from the lowest end. You go with the cheap, and you might get a good deal up front, but you're most of the time going to have problems on the back end, and it's being installed by somebody or a small business that might not be able to service you as quickly as you'd like them to when you need that service on the back end after the installation. Going with a medium-sized company in the middle, you can get the best of both worlds. You can get a fair price, but also have a company backing that piece of equipment that was installed with a warranty where you feel comfortable that they're gonna be around in 6 years or be around and be in business in 8 years to honor that warranty. Or when you call them, somebody answers the phone and they're able to send somebody out right away to have that system serviced or repaired or whatever needs to be done to it.